It is Thursday, October 16th, and you are watching the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. Folks, today we're going to talk a little bit about the AHL and development. We're going to catch up with potential first overall pick for the 2026 draft, Gavin McKenna. How's he doing at Penn State? We're going to dissect it all. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about, we got Snake's Hot Take coming up, my favorite segment. And we have a great fan question in the mailbag. All of that is coming up right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the 5th overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shayne here with my amazing co-host Simon the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing great, Shayne. How about you?
Excellent. We are 1 day away from the Laval Rocket home opener. And by the way, for our French viewers, or even English, if you're interested, we now have a Laval Rocket podcast called En Mode Rocket with Vincent Demuy and Cédric Blondin, who are also the color commentators for the Laval Rocket this season with the Sick Podcast Network. So that's pretty cool. Do go check them out. They released their first episode, and they will release one, I think, every week. And tomorrow, Snake, you and I will be in attendance at Place Belle. And we're going to be there early for the Fan Jam, folks. We're going to be there around 3:30. The entire Sick team will be there. Tony's going to be there. Alexi's going to be there. Sammy's going to be there. We're going to be there. So it's the place to be tomorrow. Laval Rocket against the Abbotsford Canucks, the reigning AHL champions. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have such a good time at the Fan Jam. And, of course, we're going to be watching the game there. And on Monday, we're going to be talking about it. So it's very exciting. I look forward to tomorrow. But Snake, I think, you know what? It's a good transition. We got to talk about the AHL, and you kind of teased this topic a little bit in our last show. More so about development in the AHL and why it's different for goaltenders, defensemen, and especially forwards, right? Especially impact players in the NHL, and why they don't really stay long in the AHL. But first, I think it's important to talk about goalies, and defensemen, and why they might take longer to develop in the AHL.
Well, those two positions are obviously harder to master, and that's why every goalie has to go through the American Hockey League, unless he's a big Russian star in the KHL. And even then, Andrei Vasilevsky came to North America playing in the AHL first. So I think with a goalie, you can be very patient. You can go beyond their entry-level contract, but then you're hoping that they're not going to get claimed on waivers, although I think they can stay a year more than forwards and defensemen. So you have plenty of time to develop a goalie. We saw it with Caden Primo. He was there forever, and at some point the Canadiens had to put him on waivers, and he wasn't taken last year, but then they traded him. Then he went back on waivers this year, and Toronto took him. So for goalies, whatever we're going to talk about today does not really apply. Even for defensemen, I would say, if a defenseman in my book stays like 2-3 years in the American Hockey League, like ages 20, 21, 22, and they start their career at 23 in the AHL, again, to avoid waivers, I don't have a problem with it because, again, it's a hard position to learn, and not every player is ready to step in at age 20, like Lane Hudson or Cale Makar, these guys. Now, but also, just one thing, you want to see progress. So although I'm okay with a defenseman staying for 3 years, you want to see progress from 20 to 21 to 22. But if the player reaches a plateau, then this is more concerning.
Yeah.
Now,
Snake, if I could add something real quick.
Sure.
there's also the factor of, available positions. There's only 2 goaltenders per team, and there's only, most case 7 defensemen per team, right? Whereas there's usually 13 forwards. So, there's more positions open for forwards than there are for defensemen and goalies. That's another factor that plays into what we're going to talk about here. But you have some statistics and some names in regards to forwards who maybe have spent a little longer in the AHL that actually did turn out to become impact players in the NHL, and you'll see that there's not that many.
No, and that's the thing. I think there are different categories of forwards. And the reason why I'm doing this segment is that over the years, whenever I seem to give up on a forward at age 21, 22, during their second or third season in the American Hockey League, I'm often being told, oh, you're not patient enough. You never know. And they'll always give me an example of a guy who developed at 24, 25. These things happen. But when you're trying to analyze players, I always go with probabilities. So if you're telling me that a guy has a 4% chance of being an impact player, it's going to be hard for me to predict that he will. And if I do, I know that there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to be wrong. Now, last year in the NHL, 119 forwards scored 50 plus points. 119. So we're talking between 3 and 4 per team. How many were still in the American Hockey League at age 22? I counted 10.
Eesh.
So we're talking, what, 8%? 8.5%? And some of them, or I would say most of them, came from the NCAA, which means that they graduated at age 21. They turned pro at age 21, and therefore they had to get a little bit of seasoning in the American Hockey League. So let's start with the junior players, okay? Because they're the ones that I want to use to prove my point. Junior career typically ends at age 19. You sign your entry-level contract. It kicks in when you start playing either in the NHL or American Hockey League. So you have age 20, 21, 22 to be, you're allowed to be sent back to the American Hockey League without being submitted to waivers. But then at age 22, most guys have already reached the National Hockey League. Most guys who become point producers. Now, here's the list of junior players who are still in the American Hockey League at age 22 and who scored 50 points last year. There were 5 of them. And I would say one of them doesn't really count. Nazem Kadri.
Okay.
In the American Hockey League because there was the lockout in 2012, in the fall of 2012. And then when the lockout ended, he started the season with the Leafs, never looked back. Okay, then another junior player, Carter Verhaeghe. He's probably the exception to the rule because he was still in the American Hockey League at age 23.
Wow. Yeah.
The guy was traded. He went through waivers, and he started his career in Tampa at age 24. So this is really the exception to the rule, this guy. There were 2 more. Chandler Stevenson, who played 72 games at age 22, and Ivan Barbashev, who only played 20 games at age 22. He was on the cusp of making the St. Louis Blues. So those were the junior guys. As for the other guys, there's Pavel Dorofeyev. He played 32 games at age 22, but he came from Russia. So he's not really technically a Canadian junior player, but he played quite a bit in the American Hockey League. Vegas had a loaded team, so they could afford leaving him there. But, he became the player that he is today. And the other guys, 5 more, were NCAA players who started their career at the age of 21 or 22. Jake Gensel played 33 games at the age of 22 before being called up midseason. he was gone. Brian Rust played 45 games at age 22, 16 games at age 23. He was called up. That's it. But remember, these guys started their pro career later. Ryan Donato played 22 games at age 21 games at age 22. Then he was gone. Troy Terry played 14 games, but he had already been in the NHL. They sent him back for more seasoning. Then they called him up. He didn't look back. And the last one, who played 54 games at age 23, well, it was a pretty good player, Anders Lee from the New York Islanders. And again, he came from the NCAA at age 21. So, like I say, he didn't play like 3 years in the AHL, but he still played there at that age. So whenever a player is drafted at age 18 from junior hockey, and at age 22, he's still in the American Hockey League, and he's not even performing, because remember, those guys I just named, they were performing well.
Yeah.
That's why they were called up. They were getting more than a point per game. So if you look at a guy who's like 22, a forward, drafted out of junior hockey, and the guy has 26 points, well, please don't tell me to still be patient.
Yeah.
And I know fans, they're always hoping, this second round pick or third round pick, he might pan out. He was good in training camp. He was good at rookie camp. You never know, blah, blah, blah. I understand. There's a Carter Verhaeghe out there. But how many are there?
Very few.
And that's why with forwards, at age 20, usually they're supposed to show something offensively. So even if you send them back at age 21, well, again, they have to show progress. They have to start dominating the American Hockey League. If they don't, well, you better start thinking about giving up on them. And I think the Habs did this week with Riley Kidney.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they sent him back to Trois-Rivières for more ice time and hoping that something sparks back up, because he was being left out of the lineup in Laval. But, I mean, we mentioned him in our last show, right, about how, okay, this is a player who put up over 100 points in junior.
Yeah.
How is it not clicked? It's not the same, guys. There's a big step, the big difference, and most players can't take that step. It's normal.
Yeah, because obviously there are guys who will put up 100 points and make it, but there's lots of guys who do put up 90 points, 100 points in junior hockey. It also depends at what age. If you put up a 90 points at age 17, your chances of being a flop in the NHL are very, very thin. Very, very thin. I mean, it's going to happen for different reasons. Sometimes it's size, sometimes it's skating, but in general, but putting up 100 points at age 19 does not mean anything. I mean, the American Hockey League has always been littered with players who put up 100 points in junior hockey at age 19, and that's where their career stops, because most of them don't have the characteristics, the features of fourth liners.
Yeah.
Because for a long, long time, I've been watching this for like so many years. And for a long, long time, I was always thinking, okay, this guy, I'll give you one example from last year, because he was the best player in the American Hockey League, or arguably the best player, Andrew Podorowski in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
The guy has been a career AHLer. And very often, this type of player, I would always think when I, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, why aren't they playing in the NHL on a fourth line and replace guys with very, very little skills, offensive skills, who will get 10 points a year and play 7 minutes a game? Why don't you take a guy like Podorowski, throw him in there? He can't do worse. So over the years, I've noticed that these guys, and I saw it with Podorowski last year when he was called up by the Sharks, that they cannot be fourth liners. They don't have the skill set of fourth liners, and they don't even produce as fourth liners. So what do you do with these players?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of them go to Europe when they earn a very good living, when they can shine, with their skill set, and that's great. But the NHL, it's mostly, if you're going to be an offensive player, you better show that you belong to a top 6, or let's say a top 9. But that's it. The fourth liners, you will have, players with a special skill, which is not necessarily offense.
Yeah.
It could be size, it could be skating, it could be that they're very pesky. Defending. And that's the type of players they're looking for. And that's why a guy like Jake Evans has carved a niche in Montreal, whereas some other guys who are better point producers could not, because Jake Evans became a defensive specialist and a PK specialist, and the guy has a career and a very nice contract. Whereas he was a 7th-round pick. He showed a little bit of offense at Notre Dame at the time, but still, you could tell that this guy's ticket to the NHL was not going to be offense. So that's what it is with these guys, and that's why when I look at the Laval roster, I'm looking at all the guys. A guy like Joshua Roy. I mean, Joshua Roy, isn't he 22 now?
Third season.
Okay, if he doesn't make it next year, he's going through waivers. Will he be claimed? Who knows? But the point is, it's getting late now. It's getting late to make the NHL. It's getting late to become the next Carter Verhaeghe.
That's it.
And guys like Owen Beck, who's 21, I think this is an important season for him, because he has to show that he has something in his game that can be useful in the NHL, because obviously from what we see, it's not going to be offense. The guy's not going to get 40, 50 points a year in the NHL. Look, 3 or 4 players per team get it. So, there's nothing wrong with not getting 50 points. I mean, 3 or 4 guys per team get it. But I think that's why it's important for these players, when they realize that they're not burning the AHL, they have to figure out, okay, and talk to coaches and say, how can I make it?
Exactly. It's tough. And I mean, you mentioned Joshua Roy, who's now in his 3rd season in the AHL, right? We stay with the Laval Rocket. Sean Farrell's entering his 3rd season. Jared Davidson is also entering his 3rd season.
And they're older. They're older than 22.
Right. Now, let's take Sean Farrell, for example. He's playing on the first line. Like, he needs those top 6 offensive opportunities. Yeah. He's not going to be a bottom 6 guy in the NHL, right? So he needs to carve out that role in the top 6. Can he do that? The odds would say no, right? Yeah. Jared Davidson's a different kind of player. He brings more of a physical aspect. Yes. He could kind of play that bottom 6 role, but the odds are he won't be an impact forward. He could still carve out an NHL role, follow in the Jake Evans footsteps, but impact forward is
we're talking 50-point forwards here. So if a guy makes it at age 25 and he gets 20 points, I mean, good for him, good for the team. But I mean, at some point you have to draw the line, because I think that 50-point is kind of a threshold that very often is mentioned by fans. Oh, I'm hoping he's going to be a 50-point player. Look, if you're a 50-point player, there's a good chance you're going to be a top 6 player.
Exactly.
Very good chance, because 3-4 guys per team get 50 points. So what does that tell you? It's first liners or second liners. Look, if you have a very powerful team, you might have a 45, 50-point guy on your 3rd line, but it's rare. And I think the 3rd line is probably the least. I think this is, how can I put this? Top 6 player, you have to be solid to play like 20, 22 minutes a game, get some power play time. You have to be reliable, consistent. Mm-hmm. And this is your bread and butter in terms of offense. The 4th line, it's the pesky guys. It's the PK guys. It's the guys who will play 7-8 minutes a game, 10 minutes a game, just to give a break to your top line. Basically, once in a while, you're hoping that they don't get scored against, and that's it. The 3rd line, I think, is kind of a spot. It's a murky spot where you can have a mishmash of players. Yeah, I was talking the other day on the podcast about LJ Mooney, Habs prospect. Look, I don't know if the guy is top 6 material, and he's obviously not a fourth liner.
No. No.
Top 6. Look, let's wait and see. He's young. He's 18 in the NCAA, so I'm not going to pass judgment right away. But to me, his best spot on a team like the Habs with what is coming, because remember, the Habs are going to have probably a very, very powerful top 6 within a couple of years. It's already good, but it's going to be, it's going to be like a notch above a lot of teams in 2-3 years. So you have to think, where does a guy like Mooney fits? I think a guy like Mooney could actually be a third liner.
Interesting.
Because then he's not going to have the matchups that the top 6 gets. And maybe his speed and his skill set can be useful. Maybe you'll have a 35, 40-point guy who can play like 15 minutes a game. You shelter him a little bit because he's small. But you see, the third line to me is the murky line.
Right.
And if you look at third liners in the NHL, most of them do have offensive skills, but they can also bring something else to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the Habs. Okay, let's assume that Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Suzuki, and Demidov are on the top 6. Okay, for next year. Okay, this is a gimme. Bolduc, I would assume, has a pretty good chance of being a top 6 player. So that's 5.
If he's not, you're in really good shape.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah.
You have Hage and Zarovsky coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say they hit. That's 7 guys. Mm-hmm. So one of those 7 guys I just mentioned, bearing a trade or an injury or something else, or some kind of like disaster, will be a third liner. So they could have an incredible third line at some point. And that's why I'm thinking of a guy like Mooney. I'm thinking, where could Mooney fit in with the Habs?
Snake, do you see him more as a center or a wing? Because he can play center. I think
he can.
He played most of his time so far.
He can. I would like to see more of him as a centerman in Minnesota in the NCAA. Yeah. But I don't rule him out as a third line center. Obviously, maybe the wing would be better for him since he's really not a big player and he's fast. It always depends on the Habs, what they do. Mm-hmm. I mean, Hage is probably going to stay at center, and you have Suzuki, so that's 2 of them. There could be a third, but look, I think by the time Mooney is ready for the NHL, I think there will be roster turnover in Montreal.
Of course.
Because remember, Kent Hughes is not going to stay put. He never stays put. And once he sees that the Habs are really real contenders, I think you're going to see some big moves being made. So right now we're talking about prospects with the Habs, and it's important to have prospects in your pipeline. But at some point, all of them can't play. That's so what you do is you get a trade like the Mailloux trade, where you basically trade a right-handed defenseman, which is something that teams are looking for, and you get a forward because, look, the Habs needed another forward. They needed a scorer, tough guy, and Bolduc is that guy. So it was the perfect, I need this, you need that, we trade. Now the question is, will the Blues be happy? But we'll talk about it in another segment.
Oh, I don't know if people on social media can probably attest to this. The Blues fans are not enamored quite yet. No. It's been a tough start for Mailloux with the Blues. It's just the start, though, so we'll see. But Bolduc looks really good, so I don't know. A lot of Blues fans are pretty pissed, and credit to you, Snake. you were befuddled. I don't know if that's a word, but you can believe it when what trade went down, and we might see more of those, right? Like you say, Snake. At one point, Kent Hughes he's not a dum-dum, all right? He'll know, okay, this player has been in the AHL for 3 years, doesn't really have an X factor that we can use in the NHL. Maybe some other team can use him. Let's maximize the value and trade him now, right? We might see that in the near future. And last point really on this topic, unless you have more to say,
No.
a little more on Joshua Roy, because I think he's really the guy of interest here. Fifth round pick, we understand the reasons why, but came onto the scene, and I mean, he was incredible in Sherbrooke. He was, the best player in the QMJHL, really. And then in the AHL, he translated. It's been fantastic. But every time he comes up to the NHL, there's just something missing, right? It's not quite there yet.
Pace of play.
Exactly. So, again, the season starting off strong, right? 3 goals in 2 games. We'll see him tomorrow, probably play well. But does he have that X factor that, okay, even if he doesn't have that top 6 role, can he be used as like a 3rd line winger or even a 4th line winger, you think?
Yeah, look, when he was in this guy, it's really been up and down. I mean, when he was in midget hockey at age 15, he was a fantastic player, but he didn't really have to work very hard to be the top player in the midget. It was too easy for him.
Yeah.
Then he got to St. John. It didn't go well, and that's why he was drafted in the fifth round. Whereas basically, this guy was touted as a top 10 prospect in the 2021 draft. He ended up being chosen in the 5th round. Now, he was traded to Sherbrooke. He had 2 great seasons, but again, those 2 great seasons happened at age 18 and 19. And at the time, I remember I was saying, I worry about his pace of play. I think, again, it's too easy for him. He's a bit older now. He's making all these points because he's talented. I really don't know how it's going to turn out. So I had a big question mark. And you know what? It's normal. He's a 5th round pick. Most 5th round picks don't make it. And there was a reason why he was a 5th round pick.
Yeah.
And then he came to Laval, and, I liked him. And then he was called up. And remember, he was good when he was called up.
I remember.
And I said to myself, boy, I was wrong about this guy. He can actually be a 3rd liner. Like the place where you can fit in a guy who's not a 4th liner, but he's not necessarily a top 6. And I say, wow, what if this guy plays 15 minutes? He was showing like he was good work ethic, and you could tell that he was going for the puck in the corners. And I said, okay. And now, remember last season, he pretty much was given a role on the 3rd line on a silver platter.
Yep.
Without any competition. And then, boom, they send him to Laval. And we barely saw him again since then. Now he had a good weekend, I would say. He was one of their best players. But time is running out. And I mean, look, the guy has something. Otherwise we wouldn't talk about him.
No, exactly.
We would just brush him off the way we brush off a lot of AHLers. But I think it's up to him. I think if he works hard, the goals will come in the NHL, and he could stay up there. But he needs to work hard, whereas in midget and junior hockey, and perhaps in minor hockey, he didn't have to. And it's hard. It's like students. They're A students in high school, elementary school, high school. They get to CJEP. It's easy. They get good grades. Then they hit the wall at university because they never learned to study. They never learned to be disciplined. They think they're just going to show up in class, write the exam. They're going to get a B or an A. And I think that's what happened with a lot of quite a few hockey players. And now it's up to them to pick themselves up.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Obviously we wish him the best, and we hope that he does figure it out and carve out a role in the NHL, because the talent is undeniable. It's everything else that's got to come. So we'll wait and see. But the odds, like you mentioned, Snake, are not in their favor, right? These guys who have been in the AHL, who have been good in the AHL, it's very rare that we'll see them become impact players in the NHL. But you know what? We love to be proven wrong, and we love those Carter Verhaeghes, right? I mean, he's got a few rings now. Okay, so credit to him.
I always wish for a player to prove me wrong when I say they're not going to make it, because you know what? I don't know them personally. I know they work hard to get where they are, and I don't like being right when I say that a player is not going to make it. No. I'd rather be right when I say the player is going to be a star. That's more fun.
Precisely. Talking about stars, Snake, and a guy who's probably not going to see any AHL time, Gavin McKenna. Obviously, he's good transition there. He's been touted for years now as the next coming, right? He's the next one.
Yeah.
Now he made a big move in the offseason. We know, transferred to Penn State, was a part of the migration from the CHL. And listen, he did everything there was to do in the CHL. I mean, he would have put up 200 points this year in Medicine Hat. I think we both agree it was a good decision to test himself, prove himself against older, bigger players, right? 4 games in, 5 points, -4.
Yeah.
Now, of course, those are just numbers. Doesn't paint the whole picture. But what have you seen so far from Gavin McKenna? Is he the next one?
Well, as an introduction, I can say that since he's already since he's a late birthday, he's turning 18 in December. I think it was a good idea to go to the NCAA because he already had plenty of experience in the Western League, having played 16 games as a 15-year-old, and he even started that season as a 14-year-old because his birthday is in December. And I thought he was amazing at the time. And in my book, when he showed up in the WHL at age 14, I said, okay, this is the next Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
I mean, he could make plays at a very high pace. And remember, he was 14. Some guys were 5 years older than him that he was playing.
Crazy.
And then I watched him live at the Memorial Cup last year. And it's always good to see a player live, especially at a very high level of competition. He played 5 games. And, of course, I liked him. Okay? I loved him, actually. But over the years, and last year at the Memorial Cup, I said, okay, I don't think he's the next McDavid. Because it's hard to explain, but you just have to look at McDavid and imagine, okay, who can be McDavid? You have to skate like the wind, and your hands have to be as fast as your brain and your skates.
Yeah.
I mean, all three have to be at a higher level. So McKenna, obviously, he can carry the puck. He has great hands. He has a good shot. I would say he's a very good skater, but not a McDavid. And you could tell that there was something missing in his game to be a real megastar who dominates. And that is why coming over to Penn State at age 17 and a few months, I see a guy who's good right now, but not great. Okay, and obviously it's only 4 games. He's young. He's gonna, he will progress, I think, throughout the season. I still think he's number 1 because there's some good players behind him, but I don't think anyone is close to him right now. Might change. I've heard things this week. But look, if he were in Medicine Hat and he had 16 points in 4 games, no one would be talking about how McKenna is not that good, maybe, So everything's relative. But I'm going to make a little comparison here. Very few guys on a yearly basis go to the NCAA during their draft year. You can usually count them with one hand.
Yeah.
And one of them I remember 10 years ago was Ryan Poehling from the Habs. And I think he was the youngest player in the NCAA. So, and he performed okay. So he became a first-round pick. But every year it's rare. Macklin Celebrini started out at 17 in the NCAA. He was younger than McKenna is right now by a few months at the time. And because I think there's a 5-month difference between those two at the time. McKenna was Celebrini was dominant. I went to see him live with Boston University, and the guy would take the puck at his blue line, and he would reach the opponent's blue line in basically 1 second.
Crazy.
And I was thinking, wow, what is this? And I had seen him in the USHL. I liked him, but I wasn't like enamored with him, like, oh, this is a franchise player. But then when I saw him in college at that age, I said, okay, this is a franchise player. And we've seen in the NHL so far, he's been pretty good considering he plays on a very crappy team. And his transition was basically seamless last year. So I think McKenna will play in the NHL next year. I do think. I don't think they're going to send him to the American Hockey League. I don't think they're going to send him back to Penn State unless he wants to go back. You know, Owen Power did it. So there's no, you know, some guys, it's up to the player, basically. But I want to see more of him before I tell you, okay, this is the number one guy. This is going to be 100-point scorer in the NHL. I want to see a little bit more, depending on the opponent. But it's a good decision on his part, even if it takes a little bit of shine off his armor, you know, because had he stayed at Medicine Hat, it could have been a 200-point season.
Of course. It would have been too easy.
Yeah.
It would have been too easy. But
no,
I
just think
at
the same age, Celebrini is ahead of him. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, look.
But most players are behind Celebrini at that.
Exactly. Celebrini was pretty damn good at that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, look, it's a big adjustment, right? And I mean, you're playing against 20-year-olds.
Yeah. 22, 23.
Yeah, who've been in the NCAA, who are more physically mature. Yeah. It's a different style of game. It's completely different, right? So there's bound to be an
stronger also. I think McKenna right now, maybe it's a good thing that he goes to college, plays less games, more gym, because I didn't feel at the Memorial Cup that he was extremely strong. But that's okay. I mean, the guy's 17.
Yeah.
So look, even Connor McDavid at age 17, I remember, wasn't as strong as he is today.
Of course.
And the guy became a monster. You know, he could carry players off his back. But when he was in junior hockey, I remember at 16, 17, I was like, okay, he's a little bit thin. He's a little bit on the thin side. And you remember first year, he broke his clavicle. I know it's bad luck, but still, you know, he didn't. That was a nasty shot by the Flyers player. I don't remember who it is. But still, he was a little bit fragile. So I'm not going to – I'm pretty sure McKenna at some point will become stronger. Now, is it a good idea to have these players play in the NHL at age 18? That's the question. You see a lot of guys are still in the NHL right now. You're going to see guys going back to junior hockey very soon.
Of course.
That will be a topic for future episodes, you know, as soon as the guys go back. And that's it. That's what I have to say about McKenna. Looking forward. I watched every one of his games or shifts. Because you know, it's been 3-4 years now that I've been following him, and I always wish he became a generational player because I like him.
Yeah,
I like his hands. I'm just a little bit like right now.
Special player. And another special player, Snake, that you'll get a chance to see live in person is the guy who a lot of people are touting as the second overall pick here. Big right shot defenseman Keaton Verhoff of North Dakota. You're going to get to watch him live. He's got 2 points in 2 games so far.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to see from him?
Well, I hope he gets a lot of ice time, first of all. And he's not playing a powerhouse. He's playing Clarkson University. But Clarkson University is only 2 hours away from Montreal. So that's my best opportunity to go see him because North Dakota very, very seldom plays in the eastern part of the continent. So he's playing next Friday, the 24th, next Saturday, the 25th. I'm going to be there in Potsdam, New York. So whoever is listening, want to have a little quick road trip with their buddies. I know in Burlington last year, some people came to talk to me, you know, in between periods. That was fun. When I went to see Jacob Fowler and the year before Lane Hudson and Celebrini. And Verhoff, what I'm expecting, I want him to have a lot of ice time. I want to see how much offensive potential he might have, because so far what I've seen is a solid defenseman, complete, well-rounded defenseman. But I don't know if he's the Makar Hughes, Hudson, Werenski type of player. Not sure yet. I want to see how he handles the puck and how he carries himself. Remember, one of the youngest players in the NCAA. So, but you have to start judging them somewhere.
Of course, yeah.
So, although it's a good test because the opponent is much older, 3, 4, 5 years older. So if he can do well, I mean, I'm not expecting him to have like 40 points in 40 games, but I want to see some flashes of offensive potential.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited to hear about it, and folks, you will be able to hear what Snake thought on this show. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you turn on that notification bell whenever we upload a new show. You will be notified. Before we move on, Snake, of course, it is time to give a big thank you to our partners who make this show possible. I want to start with our friends over at Betway. Don't select a bust with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. If you scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older, of course. Please play responsibly. And big thank you to our friends over at Cheapest T-Shirts. If you're looking for the cheapest prices on wholesale apparel in Canada, you will find them at cheapesttshirts.ca. Proudly Canadian and trusted by thousands of customers from coast to coast. They deliver unbeatable value every day. You'll always get the cheapest prices plus same-day shipping and even next-day delivery, so your order arrives fast. Whether you're shopping for t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, hats, tote bags, polos, aprons, tank tops, and so much more, you will find it all in one place. Plus, enjoy free shipping on larger orders and a simple, easy-to-use website that makes online ordering a breeze. Get the cheapest deals in Canada today at cheapesttshirts.ca. I look forward to this every week, and it is time for Snake's Hot Take. Hoping you brought the hot sauce today, Snake. Let us have it. What's your hot take of the week?
Well, it's something that I've talked about before, and I'm going to try and refrain from talking about it for the next few weeks until the next step. But I'm just going to add a little twist to it. You know how I thought that the Logan Mailloux-Bolduc trade was a joke when it happened? Well, I was thinking, okay, those one-for-one trades, they happen sometimes with prospects or with the veteran against prospect, veteran against veteran. And usually teams, like Subban against Weber, they try to fill a need, and you're exchanging players who are going to be unrestricted free agents or who don't fit the culture of the team, whatever. But sometimes you trade an established player against a younger player, and I would say that the Mailloux-Bolduc trade to me is going to be the most lopsided trade, one for one, since Martin Erat was traded by Nashville for Philip Forsberg, who was with the Washington Capitals.
Oh, boy.
To me, this is the equivalent.
Oh!
It's close to it. Because I like Philip Forsberg. I don't know if Bolduc is going to be as good as Forsberg was, but I know one thing. I know one thing. This is the most lopsided trade.
Oh,
I thought the trade was but now I said, okay, I got to give it a new twist. And I'm thinking, okay, one for one, I can believe this in 2025.
So what about...
General managers don't make that kind of trade in 2025. Those were back in the 1970s that you would see these ridiculous trades like this one.
Now, Habs fans were also, I might bring up an old wound here. Sergachev Drouin, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think this one could be even more lopsided than that one?
Yeah, because look, Drouin's still in the NHL. He still had decent seasons with the Habs. Sergachev is an excellent player, but I mean, he was never a superstar. So yeah, the Habs lost the trade. Okay, let's face it. It was a bad trade. Okay. But I do think that I I don't think Mailloux is going to be as good as Drouin was, let's say,
Oh,
for the Blues.
okay.
And I know, a lot of people are still defending him. Oh, you're jumping the gun. It's only 4 games. Last night, I mean, he was really bashed on the social media. The poor Mailloux. I mean, he was -4, but he was actually directly responsible for 2 goals, not 4. He was just on the ice for the other 2. But the point is, he still seems lost on the ice. I've said it for years. The guy seems lost in his own zone. The play is happening around him, and he's just looking around, and it's like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? And can you really improve on this? There's a reason why the Canadiens traded a right-handed defenseman who's 6'3", 6'4". I mean, why would you trade a guy like this? I knew you were getting Bolduc in return, but usually you hang on to these guys.
Yeah. On paper.
So look, it's not about the first 4 games of the season. It's about what I always thought about him, what I always thought of Bolduc, what happened this summer. And now I think it's just the time to give you some kind of verdict on it. And no, I'm not jumping. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'll be wrong.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to make predictions. You can't just always wait for things to happen and then say, "Oh well, I waited." And I'm more of a predictor than a commentator. If you see my point, which is a dangerous game because it's much easier to go back on someone's career than predicting someone's career.
Yeah.
So it's a very, it's a tricky game that I'm playing with this.
Yeah,
because you open the door to being ridiculed and criticized and mocked and everything. But at some point, this is what I chose to do. I like making predictions about players. Yeah. So that's my predictions. That's my take for the week. Mm-hmm. We're seeing another Eric Forsberg trade here, I think.
You're not going to get much pushback from me on that one because I love Zachary Bolduc. How can you not, right? I am a little higher on Mailloux than you are. I don't think anybody can be lower, to be honest with you. But I've seen, I watch Mailloux so much in Laval, and I get that it's the AHL, and in the NHL, it's a different step. Like, it's a big step. But in the AHL, I saw him take over games, like completely dominate, be the best player of the game. And on the flip side, I've also seen him be the worst.
Yeah.
So if he can figure out that consistency, I still think he could carve out a role in the NHL.
Okay.
But I mean, I can't see the Blues really winning this trade. I mean, Zachary Bolduc is exactly what the Canadiens need. They're going to utilize him properly. He's going to get the opportunities. He wants to be here. Everything is in place for this player to succeed. I'm very excited to watch him. It's the fact that he's still very young. I mean, he's still got more leeway. Like he's still got more way. He's going to improve, which is crazy to say, given he's got 3 goals in 4 games. I mean, this is it's early, but it's looking like a pretty good trade for Kent Hughes. Folks, let us know in the comments if you agree with us there. I'm guessing you are. I think a lot of people are hopping on the Zachary Bolduc love train.
There's one little thing I would like to add because it seems like I've been bashing on the poor Mailloux. The guy was picked 31st overall. It's normal for a guy who's picked 31st overall to become a 6th or 7th defenseman in the NHL or even not make it. Okay, it's normal. The problem was that I don't know what happened over the last 2-3 years, but he was built up to be that top 4 guy.
Yeah, it's probably
and that's why I reacted, because if everyone had said, "Oh, he's a 6th or 7th," I would have said, "Yeah, okay."
But
I had to react
performances. With Rocket, where we saw him dominate those games, we're like, oh my God, this guy, like, he can actually, like, he can be that legit offensive defenseman, top 4 guy. But again, it's that consistency issue, and the step to the NHL seems a little high for him so far. Again, still early, but yeah.
Well, you always have to think, will his weaknesses be acceptable in the in the NHL.
Yeah. They get amplified, it seems, right?
They get amplified. Yeah, like some guys, they're very slow. So you're thinking, okay, will that be amplified in the NHL? Most of the time, that's what happens. They don't make it, but some guys do. But I think his weaknesses in the D zone is no, it's not going to cut it.
No, exactly. When you turn over the puck in the AHL, it's an AHL player shooting on your goalie. When you do it in the NHL, it's Connor McDavid shooting on your goalie, right?
Exactly. So, we saw it last night. Yeah.
Ooh. Anyways, that'll be all for Snake's hot take. Let us know in the comments what you think. And speaking of comments, we love your questions. Please keep sending them in. Every single show, we will get to our mailbag. And it is time to dig in the mailbag. Our question today comes from Justin. Again, we've had Justin ask a question before. He asks some pretty good questions. This time he says, I realize it's difficult to predict the future. Snake tries to do it, and he's pretty good at it too. But given his injuries...
it depends.
Sometimes we see that in the comments section. Give it a rest, folks. Given his injuries and lack of NHL experience, what would David Reinbacher's trade value be now or later this year, assuming he plays at a pretty good level with Laval, of course? I don't trust that he'll ever stay healthy enough or otherwise reach his draft potential. I would trade him now or later this year for a likely mid to late first-round draft pick or likely early second-round draft pick in 2026. Ooh!
Yeah.
Okay, this is interesting. Snake, what do you think?
Yeah, you see how often I say I'm not being patient. The guy's already 21. I mentioned it earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
I think you have to go on a case-by-case basis. Reinbacher, unfortunately, for last year or so, calendar year, has been injured.
Yeah.
So we don't know. He's an unknown quantity right now. I think he played well in Laval at the end of the season last year.
He did.
I'm looking forward to his return in Laval. So right now, I'm not ready to think about trades, value, whatever, because I don't even know if Kent Hughes or other general managers can actually put a value on this guy. Mm-hmm. Remember, he went from being the number 5 overall pick. So we would assume that his value has gone down since then because of injuries. But can you really bring someone's value down where he's had a couple of injuries? I mean, at some point, yes, I do think that, if you're 26 and you play, you're injured like for 40 games every season, yeah, you become injury prone and then your value really goes down. Yeah. But right now, look, let's say you trade him for a mid to late round pick. Okay, let's say. What are you going to get? You're going to get a defenseman who might or might not have his potential or not even 75% of his potential. So you're trading a question mark for another question mark, which might be worse. Now, it depends on what you're offering. If you're offering a 22, 23-year-old established player, then you have to think twice. Mm-hmm. But because then you're gambling. You're thinking, okay, what if he pans out elsewhere? But what if he doesn't progress? What if he's still injured? So it's always a gamble trading a guy like this because you never know. But right now, no. I would put every trade scenario on ice. We'll revisit at the end of the year. And like I say, getting the 20th overall pick for him, you're also gambling. So for now, I might as well gamble on Reinbacher.
I understand Justin's point of trying to maximize his value, right? Not waiting too long until, God forbid, he's, I wouldn't say a vegetable, right? But not really useful because he's always injured. I understand that point, but I think trading Reinbacher now for a draft pick would be a major mistake. Major mistake. It's like the stock market. It's like the stock market, basically. Exactly. If, like you say, Snake, if he's involved in a package deal, let's say for that second line center or a really high-profile forward or high-profile defenseman, then that's a different question, right? But straight up for a draft pick, I would never do that. And Kent Hughes is such a great asset manager that I don't think he would ever do that either. I think he and his scouting staff really do believe in Reinbacher, and we've seen the flashes. Like, he is really good. He just needs to be lucky. It's not even about being healthy. He needs to be lucky because he has not had that luck yet. You see those injuries. I mean, he got a random puck on his hand. That's not injury-prone injury. You know what I mean? So, I'm still very bullish on Reinbacher. I think he is the ideal partner for Lane Hutson that can elevate Lane to that other level. But you know what? There is some level of concern. I understand that. I just think trading him now would be, oh my God, it's such a big mistake. I would never do that.
I'm concerned too, obviously. I had him ranked number 5 during his draft year, so I thought very highly of him. Of course, I'm a little bit concerned right now, but I can't give up based on injury. I mean, if the guy had been like in Laval for a couple of years and he's not showing any progress, then I would say, okay, let's get rid of him before his value goes down.
Mm-hmm.
Like a stock, basically. You see that a sector that a company is operating, where a company is operating, is really, really going down, then you might cut your losses before the company goes bankrupt. But in this case, it's just injuries. He's 21. Let's see what happens. But at the end of the year, look, if he comes back and he play like at least 60 games in Laval, I would think so. Maybe you get a cup of coffee in the NHL if there are injuries or if he plays very well. So it's an important season for him. Is it a crucial season? I would say no, in the sense that if he makes progress, then I'm willing to wait another year.
Yeah,
but if he doesn't show progress, it'll be like, okay, maybe we have a player who is not what we thought he could be, which is basically an NHLer, but not necessarily a top 2 defenseman. Because I thought he was going to be a number 2.
Yeah. Well, he could very well be. But Snake, I think this draws back a little bit to our topic of the show, right? It's about AHL development. We've talked about the forwards, but the defensemen typically take longer, and there are less spots to take. Exactly. You see Noah Dobson, you see Alexandre Carrier on the right side, and Lane Hutson's been playing on the right side with Caden Gooley, which has worked really well. Mm-hmm. There's no rush. There's not a gaping hole waiting for him, right? It's better for him to be overripe than rushed, okay? Yeah. He's missed a critical amount of development time. He needs to get it back. Hopefully, he'll be able to stay healthy for the entire season and do that with the Rocket. And you know what? If he does impress, then call him back up, right? But I am far, far away from giving up on David Reinbacher. No question about that.
Same here.
Fantastic. Well, folks, let us know if you would trade David Reinbacher or not. We're on one side. Justin's on the other. Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to hit the hype button. Leave us a like. Leave us a comment. And we hope to see you all tomorrow, around 3:30 at the Fan Jam, Place Bell, Laval Rocket, home opener. Don't miss it. The entire SICK team will be there. So, for Simon the Snake Boisvert, I am producer Shayne. Thank you to Sammy and Yellow back at Master Control. We will see you all on Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the SICK Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.